Yeah, they see me on top and they get mad cause they can't top me. Got me running up the skull when they even matter cause they can't stop me. Yeah, they see I'm trying to watch me and they trying to copy and it's looking sloppy. Yeah, we about to get it poppin', talking non-stop, can I get a copy? Yeah, they see me on top and they getting mad cause they can't top me. Got me running up the skull when they... Make money, make money, make money, then you take money, take money, take money.
Hello and welcome back to KSB TV YouTube channel. I am your host, Black Hexicans. Today on Crypto Convos, we are breaching a new topic, NFTs, a topic that I have not discussed to this point on this show. When it comes to crypto, I like to say that I'm probably at like elementary level, right? I've been around for a little while. I understand how to read, how to write. I'm gaining knowledge daily. But when it comes to NFTs, I'm definitely a baby. This is something that I have yet to really dive deep into. And for some people, they just choose to ignore it, right? When they're not really engulfed in that space. So they're just like, they just dismiss NFTs and the potential that that space has. But for me, it has relevance in my life, mainly because of my son. My son is a gamer, to say the least, right? And when I started talking to him about crypto, out of all of my children, he definitely just understood it the fastest. He had the most just openness to the idea. And I feel like that has a lot to do with his gaming background. When you play games such as Roblox, Call of Duty, Pokemon, Honor of Kings, these type of games, you're used to this idea of in-app or in-game purchases. And in my eyes, that's essentially a digital asset, right? It has value in the game, it has value to you, and you're willing to put your funds towards it. And so when I started thinking about how can I better integrate my son's gaming with his crypto understanding, there was one person that I went to immediately. When I wanted to understand, get some advice about the steps to introduce my son into game development and to help him to, be able to create and to learn more about this space, I immediately contacted my guest today, Mr. Krypto Koolaid.
How are you? How are you? Good to see you, love.
Yes, very good to see you, man. So I was just doing like a little introduction, explaining, what it is that we're going to be talking about today, a mixture of NFTs and gaming, and the reason why I myself have any interest in that space at all. And before we dive deep into the topic, I want to give the audience here an opportunity just to know a little bit about your background, as far as what you do in the development space, and whatever else you'd like to share.
Sure. I'm a level architect and visual storyteller in the gaming industry. I'm best known from Prey on the intro scene, but I mean, a quarter of the game is mine. But when you think about how the utilization of interactable experiences, games are the paramount of it. Richard changed his worldview to not say grinder games, which is accurate. But when you wake up every day, you're actually playing a game. You're actually using experiences and strategies to get your work done, whether that's a to-do list or something else that triggers another response. And as a storyteller, triggering responses is probably the most paramount thing to get your message across. A game is technically an interactive movie if done correctly. And movies are how you get someone to connect to something faster than reading a book. And so stories, whether it's interactive from children to adults, is how we not only pass on our legacy, but how we inspire them to be part of it. And it really is the whole key component of that kind of thing. And if you think about not just taking like when I had you guys on for CZ's show, decentralized social networking, decentralized education, decentralized utility. Everything isn't DeFi, to use the buzzword DeFi for DeFi, or blockchain technology. for anything that is just a very fancy Excel spreadsheet. The act in using of these tools is what really matters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I know that you have, as far as your career, extensive background in game development. You've been in the space successful for many years. How long have you been in crypto, and how are you combining the two?
Sure. So, I mean, in game dev, I've been here, God, 16 years, something like that. And then I got into crypto 17 in all the Ponzi lending programs. But as a student loan debt slave, I realized understanding this technology was going to be my way out. Not only that, it was tantamount to the way of the future. Games are one of the paramount things that people get used to use technology. And this infrastructure will natively go into the gaming platform and ecosystems. So yeah, I got in 17. I quit my job at Arcane to actually be an ICO influencer for a year and a half. Then the market crash happened, and I went back to work because all the rest of the stuff that I was reviewing was bullshit anyways. So that didn't work out well either. But what it did is it gave me meddling and hands-on experience. That way, when this current bull run came around, well, the last one before when we all got into Hex and all the rest of that stuff, I already knew what to do. I wasn't lost in the weeds. I already had experience with using Ether Delta, which was the first most horrible DEX in the world. You put in a wrong zero and all your money's gone. But you have that tantamount ability to then move forward through the next cycle. So yeah, got back out, got back in due to the Hexicans community. It was actually the captain that brought me out of the woodwork. Awesome blue collar people, and then the community is where I was poking around behind the scenes. So whether I don't do a show, pretty much my friends can summon me. But I talk to everybody on the phone since the beginning of Hex. So I just don't have a need to have my face on screen with somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to get into NFTs and gaming, right? The correlation that they have. What are the potentials that we will see coming in the future? But just on the most basic level, help me to just understand, what is an NFT?
An NFT is being used wrong. An NFT can be any token, fungible, non or semi, that is wrapped, that has metadata embedded in it. Pure and unsaid enough. So if you look at EverQuest gold mining was the first Bitcoin. If you look at the first blockchain as far as interoperability of space all around the world, that they get fussy if you do something, it's ham radio. Because people in ham really care about their IDs, or let's call that their keys. And then the first NFT, if you really think about it, was an attachment on an email. It was the first time a digital signature that something was embedded with metadata was sent that you could have a view receipt from. And if we look at Metcalfe's law and Moore's law and how our technology is moving faster and faster, that ability to bind wrapped metadata has been expanding into perpetuity. So yeah, at the end of the day, an NFT is simply the term for wrapping embedded metadata into something. It's being used right now to wrap an image on EIP 721, but you can use 1155 to do fungible, semi-fungible, or non-fungible metadata, and that will just continue.
Right. And when you say that, you're kind of talking about NFTs that have various utility, kind of like the Watsa NFT
Correct.
for Hedron and these other types of ways that you can utilize NFTs.
Right, yeah, and the same thing as an HSI stake is a wrapped T-share that, as it can be tokenized itself, it can be untokenized, it can be sent, it can be received. It has things it can do. It's no longer landline. It's no longer dial-up. We're now moving into a faster utility of the tool that's being used to do more things, to allow us to explore and use all those things further. And games were one of the first ways to do that, with not really an NFT, but microtransactions. It's taking the game and the utility further. Yes, the pay-as-you-play model is a thing, but it's microtransactions that are really the next development of that cycle. Normally, you would pay for something on a monthly subscription or expensive things, And with the paramount of paying a little bit to get a little bit, we've now fractionalized the utility on how we're playing the games. Remember, again, back in 2012, I didn't realize Bitcoin was a fractionalized asset. I wasn't paying attention. $1,000 in 2014 was too much for me to pay. Had I known that it was a fractionalized asset, I've thrown $100 in a paycheck in, not caring. But back then, we didn't have DCA and people having the fluid understanding to teach. What we'll see with both not just gaming, but augmented reality, virtual reality, and interactive experiences will have the same definition of movement that a cell phone with internet had back 20 years ago.
Yeah. So there was a term that you just used, and I wanted you to go deeper into that. And now I'm losing what it was that you said. It was not the fractional aspect, but in my mind, I'm thinking like in-app purchases, right? But you were speaking more along the lines of the subscription base.
Well, see, microtransactions. Back when I was under ZeniMax, Robert Altman, CEO of ZeniMax, was screaming at us that Elder Scrolls Online didn't make money. And because that particular project didn't make money, anything that was under the umbrella of ZeniMax was at risk. Same thing that happened to THQ when I was at Vigil Games during the Wii U debacle from Danny Bilson. And then the next year, they implemented microtransactions into Elder Scrolls Online. Hugely profitable for the company. He's like, we're not going to get bonuses this year either. However, I'm not screaming at you. And that's how games use metadata and utility to give players the model to kind of pay to play. But then NFTs within that allows players the ability to use a market store. So if you're thinking about the next tier of the company can make money, now you have the users being allowed to use the tools to make money or doing something of themselves. So go roll back to EverQuest 1 and EverQuest Gold mining. That was the first Bitcoin. You have someone that does a bunch of farming, gets gold, you pay on the shady damn site, and hopefully don't steal your money. Now you've got players using almost a DEX, not DEX, but it's a storefront for it to allow them to sell their goods. Now with NFTs, like let's say Wax or something that was natively from EOS, it allows you to trade your assets from one network to another network, whether that's one game to a different game or one player to a different player. So now we're seeing that interoperability of user goods, not just decentralized finance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to talk about, because you have a lot of knowledge as far as where you'd like to see this industry go, as far as how NFTs can be utilized properly. Where do you think that we're going in this space as far as utilizing NFTs in the gaming industry?
Well, it's not just gaming. You have to realize that an NFT is essentially a social security number. That's all it is. And so if you think about, I live in an apartment. I have a social security number. Now I have a spare bedroom. I could put a roommate in said apartment. That's a sub-social security number. And if you think about both of those things, that's a wallet, and that could be an NFT. And each of those wallets or bedrooms, you could have partners, right? Those partners could fucking have a kid. That is a sub or nested NFT. That child could go to college, get an accreditation. That's a socketed NFT inside something else. So what we're looking at is not only a history of an asset on where it goes, but what it does, and also the genome on how they're combined. All of that is what an NFT is. Just as if you file save as of any software, it changes its read-write date. So what we have to think is that things now evolve based on the genome of their experience and what they do. And we're going to see that now on the blockchain, because no modern day child is going to be going to a library to use a Dewey Decimal System.
Right.
No, the days of the Pony Express are gone. I mean, no one's going to ride a horse to work. And now we're moving into these type of situations where all of the data is going to be accessible immediately, and you have to choose to use it or lose it. We're going to see that move into, again, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed and blended reality, UX, that the NFT experience is going to be me. I am the character. Technically, I am the NFT. And what I'm putting on is the same thing as a shirt, glasses, a hat. It's not a monkey picture.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to start somewhere. And just people aren't looking further enough in the view frustum on what is going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that sounds to me like the metaverse, right? Is that
Sure. Yeah, but the thing is we already are in the metaverse. Richard's right and Richard's wrong on that.
Mhm.
Technically, I'm on the metaverse when I'm using my phone. I'm on the metaverse when we're here right now communicating. However, the mixed and blended reality of it will rapidly increase, just like the internet increased and all of the rest of that type of stuff. To use the hubris that don't realize that it is a mix between the two, just like skills in a seesaw. Nobody goes and uses the Dewey Decimal System or a library or prints out their maps anymore. Hell, people don't even know how to read a map. They just got their phone do it for them. Yeah. So the interoperability of said connection to phone, utility, and usability is technically the metaverse. Mm-hmm. So it's a blend between the two. It's just the fact of the people that are experienced with crypto nonsense, tech nonsense will push the envelope further, just like the boomers had eventually learned how to use the internet. The children that are underneath us using gaming, using utility, will push that same view frustrum further. It's just we were born when it existed, right? We weren't born with the Howey test was in 1930 and are still struggling to understand how to use that law and apply it to modern day goods.
Yeah. So like what are you looking for when you're looking to, start up in NFTs and gaming? Like what is a good project, right? Like if I'm wanting to show my son into this space and I'm like, I want you to dive deep, what type of projects are you even considering, since we're in such the early stages of this type of development?
To be honest, there really isn't anything that's doing it right. There's a couple gaming things like Illuvium that's trying to do stuff. I think people are just jumping on that bandwagon. Same thing with Axis Infinity because they were the forerunners, right? Mm-hmm. People jumped on MySpace not because it was good,
right?
Because it was the only thing that was there,
right?
We really aren't at that stage where it's being used properly for its utility, but we will be there fast enough. I think the fact that almost every kid knows how to use Minecraft, and if they want to take it further, they know how to use Roblox. The difference between Roblox and Minecraft is in Minecraft, you're being a world builder. You're trying to build an experience while you're having an experience. With Roblox, you can actually add the scripting on top. And when you're adding the scripting on top, you're making a personal commitment to those kind of things. But you have to remember that Unreal 5 just came out, and that made all Unreal 4 free. So your kid could level up at any time and switch to Unreal 4. They could do Unreal 5 as well, but they could make a real game in Unreal 4. No worries about royalties whatsoever. They could use Unreal 5, and I think after the first $1 million, then you have to worry about licensing with the company. So you can take it as far as you want in that feature, and how NFTs will evolve with other people making indie games, indie copies, indie experiences. We'll probably push that even further faster. And we're living right at the epoch of that right there.
Yeah. That is very interesting, Larry. Excuse me. I know you on a personal level, so sometimes I mistakenly say people's real names, but yeah.
I mean, I have an IDMB. I mean, if you have a moniker of ways, it's not hard to find me. I am a professional in my industry. And I think that's the most important thing, is to bring your professional experience back into this community, which makes us the most dynamic community, not just in crypto, but the future of decentralized everything. Because like your kids will definitely be paramount to all of this type of stuff. All of our friends, children, and people that they come to, what's a wallet, et cetera, eventually will be masters that teach the other people, and the network effect of what we have with our little game of telephone that we have now. And within our 5-10 year life cycle of all of us being here before our 15-year stakes come out, it's going to be insane on the amount of people, utility, and breadth of connection that we have, both in skills and buildability, and taking the stride further to implement not just decentralized finance, but lobbying to Congress, to making the ability to have the way to learn easier, and taking the bat to the playing field to make sure we knock it out of the park across the board. And gaming or interactive experiences, interactive stories is the common forefront of that. Storytelling is the oldest thing in the world because that's how we came and where we came from.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like value when it comes to this space is tied a lot to the users, right? More users, more value. So that's why you see even something as simple as a monkey JPEG just completely take off and shock you with how many, people are willing to buy it. But I just, I question even now, like I love art. I understand, how it grows in value, but I still question whenever I see a JPEG based NFT project and what is the value, 10 years from now. I know how to evaluate the value of my stakes 10, 15 years from now, right? The NFTs I struggle with a bit.
Sure. So let's remove it from silly JPEGs or silly pictures loosely tied to a JPEG, because that's what Richard taught us, and that's good. That is correct. But what about a Bansky? Let's take there's a story that this mother was talking to a gentleman making this painting in Ukraine, and there was 4 tag pictures that was being made around an apartment complex that was completely destroyed. And she was talking to this guy and didn't realize it was Bansky. So his art is not just art, it's evocative for being evocative for a reason. And the same thing as you can say with a Picasso, with a Rene Magritte, with a Dali. Those things, do they have value? Do they not have value? You have to actually get past the time of where their value matures, just like a steak. The value of something matures based on what it is. Now, street pop art is value from their ability for you to see it in the real world in question. It could even be noise, and technically that's history, or it can be something as evocative as a Bansky. And the picture of the little girl flipping Putin over is now the stamp of Ukraine. So that method of model is now a footprint in history. And so looking at a book at its cover without even opening it to understand the story that is yet to be told in there. And that's what we're going to be seeing with NFTs and how what they're being used for evolves. Just probably like their term evolves. Technically, an NFT is just looking at the term non-fungible token. There are different ways that you can wrap it. Technically, all crypto is a part of an NFT. Is it fungible or non-fungible? Is it sendable, non-sendable? Is it because you have souls that are coming out? Souls are non-transferable accreditations that get attached to a wallet. And I said it at the first HEX convention when I was on with Steph, Randy, and I forget who else. Oh, maybe it was Silver, I think. And it was treat your wallet as a character. And now we're seeing that these wallets will be characters in a story, a game, or an experience. Just like you can use chain analysis on any wallet and see its history and what interacted with it. Now, a non-fungible token has a very direct history compared to any just random crypto that goes in and out. But the story is still the same as you use those things. And that's my cat goes runs across the back.
He's ran across a couple times, so he's
being Mr. Zoomers right now.
Yeah. So I didn't that last point you made when you got interrupted by your cat. Did you want to finish that, or you were good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. It's all the same thing. I think the most important thing when people want to potty mouth NFTs, PetRock.com made $1 million for selling people river rocks. And RG was saying that, there he goes again. And RG was saying that shit was around before. People were just selling people river rocks.
Yeah.
Put some sand for some food. Eat a rock. The utility of what people use things for can make a lot of people money, but anything that survived the .com era in between Pet Rock, before Pet Rock and after Pet Rock, if they did survive, they became the Amazons. Because again, what did anyone need an online library for? We have a library. Well, libraries became dead, and I buy everything on Amazon these days. So you have to look at where things are going and have at least a point of the view first around where you want to be then.
Yeah.
And the use of NFTs is not the correct way to use them. Just like you don't try to turn left with a train. It's being wrong on how it needs to be used. You can't turn hard left when you're on a train, but you go forward. But that is what we're doing. We are going forward with the wrappability on different ideals, assets, and utilities, because you can use an NFT to give you access to particular things, just like theoretically a DAO would use particular governance to do a particular thing. It is how that cycle works and how it will eventually work in the future.
Yeah. I want to talk about that term you used a little earlier. I think you said it was called soul and
soulbound tokens. Yeah, so I haven't really paid attention too much to it, because I think you can. So the reason why LinkedIn works is you theoretically have a peer network that references where you came from. That is why LinkedIn is what it is. Theoretically, you have people that say, I didn't work with you, or, oh, you did a fucking great job, blah, 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 blah. It gives it its merit. And so with soulbound tokens, you have almost the ability to give yourself accreditations that can't be transferred. But the real question is what happens to that wallet if you lose your keys? So we haven't really... It's kind of painful because it's a good and a bad thing. People will eventually have wallets that they get at birth, and then their accreditations and stuff will have to go to there. The question is, how do you unlock and keep said wallet? Is that bad? Yes. Is that good? Yes. So, but you have to realize it is something, right? It really doesn't matter, because let's just take London, right? I'm pretty sure that they have the highest level of CCTVs that are completely watching everything. Is that a problem? It is what it is. It just is what it is. So with CDBCs going forward, which will happen, with you having to have a particular bank account to do particular things, which will happen, you just have to realize what the future holds and have the ability to understand and move with the floodplain that is coming, right? Yeah. Nobody gets paid really in cash anymore. No one goes and shakes the money tree and gets their rake and scrapes up that other stuff and walks into the bank with $1,000 or $10,000. So they'll be like, where'd you get this money? Like, well, I worked. Like, where'd you work when you got this money? Oh, I sold a car. How about that? I sold a car. I said, okay. Yeah, I sold a car. Take my money. Can I have my money? I'm going to go buy a car. But that will happen. So soulbound tokens is how you lock in a particular asset, feature, or accreditation, and it can never leave your wallet.
So you think that something like this, we could be looking at in the future, things like birth certificates being stored on the blockchain, automatically going into someone's wallet. But then that's to the point that you brought up. Like, how do you protect that? How do you make sure that they never lose their wallet address and then never have access to their birth certificate again?
It is a little bit complex one way or the other, because will it give us a lot of ways to combat universal basic income and potentially equality for all? Yes. In fact, I've got to figure out where the thing is. I'll send it to you if you remind me later, and you can share it up on the Twits or your channel. But it was fascinating. If we look at AI, which is going to be ChatGPT and OpenAI and all the rest of that stuff, in a capitalist environment, everyone can become slaves. But funny enough, in a socialist, like more mindset environment, which is technically decentralized everything, right? It flourishes. Everyone actually gets a bigger piece of the pie because they have the utility to use the pie without the robber barons holding them down. And because of that, everyone wants to use the pie better for equal systems, just like liquidity pools, which is kind of fascinating if you really think about it. DEXs and liquidity pools is actually a very socialist is such a dirty word. It's like capitalist is such a dirty word. But because crony capitalist is actually what goes on right now. It's capitalist for the rich people. Socialism is manipulated by the people that can take the rules of a socialist mindset and whip them down. And so it really is a play on the tools that are being used. But liquidity pools and DEXs are the same utility that everyone can have now when you're using ChatGPT, AI generated art, how things will benefit the future. And again, it's funny because with everything that came from OpenAI, it's the white collar workers that got taken out first, not the blue collar. Everyone thought it was going to be little robots running around taking their jobs. No, it took the middle class grain and completely added a wedge that even safe, not to evolve is never safe. You always have to look at what the future holds because you never know how quickly it will be undone.
Right. Yeah. Since I first started even looking into NFTs, I just kind of, my first understanding was to kind of see it as like a certificate of authenticity, to say, right? I went to a football game in North Carolina, and they issued a NFT, kind of like a commemorative ticket, right? People are going to save their tickets or whatnot. This is like on the blockchain. You have this acknowledgement that you attended. And I'm seeing a lot more industries seeing how they can adopt different ways of using NFTs. So I know that we're very, very early in this, but I'm wondering, being that we are at the forefront, right? How do you capitalize on that information? What should you be looking to get involved in?
Well, it's tricky because it is such an early time. I mean, I was talking with Big Bukowski about festival type stuff 2 years ago, and lo and behold, a year later, Coachella put 10 lifetime tickets to Coachella on an NFT based system. And I think like 7 of them are stuck in FTX. It's fucking funny. But we're seeing that right now. And it's going to be used first, again, as a value of authenticity, exposure, and verification. Just like your ID is. Technically, your ID, when you go to get into a bar, when you're clearly over fucking 18 or 21, they still have to look at the thing for validation, verification, and utility. You look 100 years old, technically they still have to look at your ID. Don't always have to, but that is what the authentication is. That is your seed words. That is your validation for said things. And those things are just being blended together faster and faster. And that is what we will see, whether the term still stages. Again, NFT just says non-fungible token. They're just acronym what the protocol is. Do we say ID as government ID, passport number, XYZ, MNOB? But we understand what EIP 721 is. It will continue to expand as the protocols wrap and use multiple forefronts of tools. And from there, it'll go faster and faster in other directions. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right. So while we wait and I'll go ahead and mute him just in case something is going on over there. While we wait for Crypto Koolaid to come back, I just want to check in with the chat. Thank you guys for being here. We got, what is this? Sith. My vision is horrible. Sith Master Hex. Hello. Mad Hex Room. More Hex. Abit Hex. Korean Investor. Daniel. Bong Juice in the building.
Bong Juice and Sith Master Hex.
We got Lawrence.
I mean, that's me.
Side effects. I'm very familiar with a lot of these guys, so it's good to have you guys here with us, joining us.
Yeah, a bunch of my onboards up in here. They're not allowed to listen to me. That's what the rule of being my onboard is. You're not allowed to listen to me.
Not allowed. Not financial.
I mean, you should learn from other people, and then because I talk really fucking fast. So you should learn from other people, though. That way, you're not just listening to someone that you happen to know. That's not validation. Validation is listening to other people outside of your wheelhouse and skill set that inspire you, that then may be listening and talking about someone that you know. Now you're binding multiple different tiers of information together. And I think that is what people keep fucking up. They want to look at a sticker price. They don't want to do their homework. They don't want to bind that utility of time into something because they just want to be lazy.
Right.
And that is where we see things. And hence my ducklings are not allowed to listen to me, especially in the beginning, because they should have knowledge from someone else that they can't be like, it's just Kool-Aid. I don't need to listen to this. I don't need to do my homework. I put away my toys, Dad. It doesn't really, it doesn't matter. It's being responsible. And most people are more responsible when their boss is in the room. Most people are not necessarily more responsible when their partner's in the room because you get a pass. And this is not a world where you get a pass. You fuck up here and it's gone.
Right. So I know, like, as a Hexican, right, we are seeing how people are using the utility of NFTs to help pump the price of Hex, right? Hedron is doing it with the HSIs.
It's hold on. Icosahedron as a wrap system puts scripting on a T-share.
Okay.
That, because you have to think about it, it has so many different mechanics. If you borrow the Hedron from your HSI, does it have a ceiling to spot hex price of that wrapped asset? Does your Icosa have a floor and ceiling based on different assets? Does it have a mechanic for clawback? Does it actually do different things? Rather than Hex, its only use is to get a T-share. Well, rent a T-share. That's the difference. You are renting it for a particular amount of time, and that rent goes up with the amount of time it needs to re-rent it to get it later. Mm-hmm. So that system is pushing another system forward. And so, like, it's really important to realize with the Hex-based ecosystem, it's the T-share based ecosystem and how that pushes everything forward, not just the book cover right in front of you. People are looking at it wrong. And with the icosahedron based system, now you're adding scripting, you're adding tooling and teeth to it, transferring an asset from one to another, borrowing for an asset to another is part of the metadata of what thinking about an NFT correctly can do. Mm-hmm. And you can do it with everything now.
Yeah. So that's what I'm wondering. Are there, because you've said it multiple times, even in this string, that we're
I said it way back at our thing in New York the first time I met you, right? I did way back then. And it was long before icosahedron or Hedron came out. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I'm not a programmer. I am a designer and I am an artist. However, understanding the tooling doesn't mean you can't understand everything, right? An engineer that can write the schematics maybe can't build the actual car or the plane itself. They understand the concept, and that's where the team comes into a fist. One finger can kind of hurt anyone really poking unless you're like Bruce Lee and bang. But yeah, it's the team effort and the team of wrapping all that stuff together that makes it really work.
Yeah. So, like, to your, brilliant mind, are there ways, is there more utility that we can be getting out of NFTs in support of Hex and integrating crypto in a more efficient way or, just more useful way?
Definitely. And there's stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes that will really push that forefront. So I got to be careful about what I share, but I mean, the ideal for the ideals, right? Gravity is an important thing. Technically, gravity is the most important regulator that we have, because without that, everything else falls apart. It is our core component of what made everything work in the universe. And then from there, if we're just looking at universal stuff, sun, light, and how gravity and light works with each other, that creates atmosphere. And then from there, yada, yada. So how we will use NFTs or our network effect, let's say a wrapped network effect. That is what we will see in the future. The unfortunate and fortunate part is shit's complex as fuck right now, which means those that understand it have a chance to make a lot of money. But when your grandma understands how to wrap metadata, the fucking money time is done. The gold rush is gone. Everything there is already happened. But now the UI UX is flawless. Now the different utilities the infrastructure has been built. You know, I said way back when, if you wanted to fix Flint, Michigan, right? Flint, Michigan, if most people don't know, 15 years ago, people complained about you turn on your tap and it was red with lead. So it was a big thing back in the day. And here's the thing is it's still there. The infrastructure system of not just Flint, but everywhere is rotting. Now, if you had, first to preface, unlimited amount of money, the first thing that you would do if you wanted to fix the piping in Flint, Michigan, is you'd have to fix the pipes. It means you have to dig up the road, right? You have to dig up everything and replace the copper in the pipes and replace it with a better infrastructure of things. Well, while you're there, why don't you drop high-range fiber optic internet into the ground? Well, while you're there, why don't you replace the ground and the roads with solar panels that have something like power on it, like power token, that allows you to take the distribution of solar and distribute it to the neighborhood, because it also has Wi-Fi right there. So clearly the road has internet. Well, while you're there, considering EVM cars would be running on this road, we already charge our toothbrushes wirelessly, our phones wirelessly. Why don't you charge the EVM cars that are running on the road and then allow them to access the internet? But while you're there, why don't you have the cameras on those EVM cars go into a DAO and do something like VeChain that actually coordinates your traffic? Because right now you're using Google Maps to do that right now. It's using your cell network. Well, why don't you just use the car to do it? And then obfuscate all of that data off of the car like Europe does at CCTVs. What you're doing at that point is you're making a super city. There goes my cats. It's fighting cat time. You're making a super city that allows all the utility to have interoperability. Now, here's the problem, is that if you are trying to make it where you're helping the poor, how do you make it where those poor people that literally have been bathing in lead for the last 15 years not to be gentrified? You make them an NFT. And what you do at the minting of Flintopia is you guarantee that all resources out of this cyber city that's being built go back to the people as a UBI. And then at that point, yeah, you could put some clauses in there that if you're having decentralized healthcare, decentralized education in that model, if you come up with some kind of IP, now this is where people will complain between capitalism and socialism, that some kind of revenue of that IP goes back to the city where you came from. Now, here's the other part. If you sell your property in Flintopia, your NFT is burned. You're no longer a Genesis wallet of Flintopia. But here's what will happen. Other cities will see this, and then capitalism will take into play. Because they're like, look at this new cyber city that came out of the dredges of America that no one gives a fuck if they drank lead, like dangerous amounts of lead, red water. That is really the inherent difference of what wrapping utility, knowledge, and metadata is. Because you can literally take a slum and turn it into the next cyber city of the future. Mm-hmm. But it will be through those means. And then capitalism of better goods, better value will take over, and then there'll be competition. Like eventually with decentralized everything. Again, decentralization doesn't mean majority control over all. And we learned that with the OA. And we learn that with the mechanics on what our ecosystem has learned versus everyone else. There is rules for having perfect liquidity. There is rules for having centralized control, but it's more or less concrete control of variables because you have bad actors that put into play rules, regulations, and basically try to swindle. So that's the problem, is how do you defend against being crooked and hooked versus giving back to the people for all? It's a marriage, it's a seesaw. And it's tricky, but we may see an era where those things are feasibly possible, because if not, the utilization of AI is just going to even push Metcalfe's law and Moore's law, or the ratcheting up of the event horizon on how we exist with our technology further and further. So are those people homeless that have their jobs taken away from ChatGPT, or do we put a way and a base to dethrone advert? Now, Google has owned Ironclad, Google AdSense. Boys, has owned the Ironclad of advert completely through AdSense. It's been that way forever and ever and ever, because not only were they first mover advantage on that ecosystem, but they also had the best tech to do it in. But when Microsoft bought ChatGPT and slapped it into Bing, they ran fast for the network effect, and the Bing browser ChatGPT will gaslight you, tell you to leave your fucking wife. Will tell you that we'll find something that you search and say, like, you wrote about me, you're naughty, because it actually is accessing searches in real time, whereas the old large language model of ChatGPT accessed an encapsulated version of model when it did its stuff. It can't search in real time against itself.
Right.
But that's how it was trying to get ahead of adverts, to try to dethrone Google. So we're going to see this happening faster and faster, whether that's in crypto, CDBCs, advert, and all the rest. And it goes back to the beginning of our first conversation, which is Roblox. Teaching children is the most important thing you can do, because they are our future.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the most important thing about education. I was homeschooled most of my life. Tested out of high school when I was in 7th grade. And when I moved to Colorado, where Sith Master Hex was my best friend growing up, I went to high school, even though I'd already tested out of all the classes. Well, I'm sorry if you can hear it's Panther.
No, it's okay.
But the ability to learn and use and learn is our most valuable asset. In fact, knowledge is the most expensive token in the world. And the distribution of power starts with wealth. But back in the day, wealth gave you the ability to learn and learn well, versus giving some just enough that they can get by, and have that glass ceiling be your yield. We live in a country of debt, not wealth. Everything is actually binded by debt, and that debt gives some wealth. So I see the moving of not just NFTs, but understanding how this ecosystem works as the real eclipse, the event horizon, the singularity that changes everything, so we all can be good for all. And that's what I think we're going to see in the future, not just with NFTs, but centralized education, centralized healthcare, and giving people options. Because that's what the internet gives us, is options. That's what DeFi gives us, is options. That is what everything else gives, is options. Pull on the screen cap.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that you brought up that point about kids. You know, kids learning crypto, understanding this space is a passion of mine. I teach my kids. I've come to you multiple times to get your advice. And I know that you have made comments to me like, kids need to learn how to master their own futures, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean a road that takes you through college. It's more about knowledge and being aware of the space and what you can do in it. So I just want to get your feedback on, you know, what is it that we should be exposing our children to so that they are best prepared in the space that they're growing up in.
Sure. Let's talk about your stuff, right? The ABC Crypto. you tell me what you guys got going on over there.
Oh, sure. So yeah, like I said, we teach our kids crypto. My husband was writing the fiction book, as you know, and as he was sending me little snippets of the book, I was reading it to my daughter, and I would say words like FOMO, FUD, even, like they know the main things, right? But they're not on Twitter, so they don't hear us using all this different lingo.
Shouldn't be on goddamn Twitter, goddamn cesspool of life.
Right?
Space Karen made that trap or dumpster fire even crazier. Yeah.
So then I asked my husband, I said, hey, can you just put together a list of all the terms, all the common terms with your definition so that I can explain it to it? And as he was doing that, I loved it, to the point to where me and my daughter decided to put it into book form, add some graphics, and essentially it's just a terms and definition book that we use when we're going through cryptocurrency. They don't have to ask me, what does that word mean anymore? They just go into their little book and they figure it out. And when I had Crypto Profeta on the other day, he loved the idea and he wanted to, buy 1,000 books and send them to Haiti, and have it translated into Spanish, because there is a need for crypto-based education at the most basic level that our kids can understand. So that was, the reasoning behind what we're doing. But at the end of the day, I'd like there to be a lot more access to information and higher level education as they build, because, what's next? And to me, this gaming NFT space is just going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I want them to have the best understanding.
And that's exactly right. If people only understand crypto because number go up, yes, that is what most people look. But I mean, you've heard my riddle before, so I think you know the answer. But what was the first human commodity? Most important human commodity?
I don't know that I've heard you say.
Come on, I said it at the thing in New York. You remember? If not, shoot the dice. What is it?
Okay, say it one more time. What
is the most important first human commodity?
Humans.
Yeah, but that's cheating. You can't use the definition of itself to call it itself. That's very blockchain technology. So, okay, some will say language. Well, if you don't have anyone to speak your language to, what does it matter?
Right.
Someone will say fire. You can't really travel with fire, and if you don't have the resources, you can't make it. Some will say the wheel. Well, you just said the wheel, but if you have one wheel on something, it's completely fucking useless. If you put two wheels on something, you made a sled. 4 wheels is what you need, but are you pushing the wheel by yourself? The real first, most important human commodity was beasts of burden, or horses. You can use them to farm. You can use them to hunt. You can use them to trade. You can use them for tithe for marriages. You can use them for absolutely fucking everything. It amplifies all the other things that you want. Beasts of burden or horses. Now, where do we use horses today? Well, people turn their car over and it goes vroom, vroom, and you have horse-powered machines. And if you actually have a physical horse, it's no longer a commodity. It's a luxury. You're paying to look at something that possibly you could use to go Gundam style on top of it. But at the end of the day, its use case is no longer a commodity because it's been utilized into every instance of everything that we do. Horsepower, electric power, mining power, or processing power is based off of originally horse-powered machines or horses themselves. And now we look at where is the next evolution of that epoch, and it's knowledge. And knowledge is what everyone has access to, but if you don't, you get blockbustered, you get left behind. And the most important thing we need to look at is taking out for-profit colleges, for-profit everything like that nature. You can have profit, but making the profit so extreme that you put a glass ceiling or you cut the head off the ability for the next generation to evolve is the same precipice of houses used to be affordable. Then corporate cronies came over like BlackRock and took over the whole damn thing, or any of the rest of that type of stuff. We live in the age now that we can now challenge the future of the robber barons if we teach our children to set up the future of that state. And that's really, I think, the most important thing about understanding what NFTs are is NFTs in gaming, and that view frustum or that lens that gives you forward is where the next generation will blockbuster the old money, or have the opportunity to, because our fake internet money is better than your fake internet money, and our knowledge is actually universal to all. Just like no Hexicans gets paid to fucking talk online. We want to give you the knowledge for free. Same thing that you and the Kryptosparbuch team did when you toured around the United States. Same thing that the captain wants to do it again with SJ and all the rest. We get out in front of people and talk. And it's education, which will be tied into the gaming. And when you think of gaming, think about interactive experiences. That can be anything that you do, whether that's school, whether that's play, whether that's in person, whether that's out person. It will change as we move forward with the tools that we have.
Yeah. Well, Larry, I didn't get your permission to do this before the show, but if you've seen my stream at all, you know that I do this every show.
Oh, Lord,
so I'm sure you'll be game.
Oh, God.
So, Larry, I have this little segment called Truth or Dare.
You know that you're going to be forced to swing dance with me on the cruise now. Like, you literally just opened yourself into the wildest. I will play this game, but I think side effects is side effects saying dare. But I own a dance floor, as you know, because you keep saying there you go when I start. And that means by pressing this button, you now commit to swing dance with me in front of everyone. So, truth or dare? Do you
You'll have to catch me first.
Oh, you know I'm faster than you. Yeah, that's the whole thing, is you know I'm fast.
Come on, dare. Oh, yeah.
All right, we got
side effects. He wished that one into winning. Okay, so here's our dare wheel. And I'm sure Larry's not going to opt out. But I do always tell the people in the chat that if my guest decides that the dare is just too much, they don't want it, they want to opt out, they have the choice to send a member
on here, like,
of our viewing audience $50 in the crypto of their choice. So let's do it, Larry. Let's do it.
I ain't even fucking dare even in here.
Oh, man.
What did it say?
Fake cry your next answer. This is great. This is great. I need a great question.
I take this cup and it has my tears, so that way I can answer and give the tears of my haters to Johnny Chaos. Anyway, what's the answer? Here, what's the question?
Okay, quick question. Not financial advice, but trying to be, a resource for just a thought, right? What are good things to look at, to keep your eyes on? If you're a new investor in the space, coming in maybe $200, $400, somewhere around that range, what should you be looking at?
Well, I mean, I could cry, but it wouldn't have as much power because it'd take too long and I'd slow down my talking. But if you really wanted to look at what you want to do within the space, I mean, again, T-shares are always the GOAT, but T-shares aren't what people actually talk about. People talk about spot hex price. With $200 or $400, you are going to get swindled for gas. But if you think about the gas time versus the time merit of what you are using and buying, does it fucking matter? You already pay Social Security if you live in the States. Is that going to be around for you? Nope. You already probably won't have 401ks. Because by the time you and I in our 40s get to what they want to raise it again, so what, 79 or 69, that now you can use your 401k? Jeez, bitch. Like, no, old people want to keep working. They do. They just want to keep working. Like, shut the fuck up. They do not. I don't want to keep fucking working right now. I'm done. I would rather do something of value and get paid really, really well doing something else. Get paid well to do what you love to do for free. Yes, people still want to have value, but they don't need to be paid pittance for their value. So the T-share is the most expensive utility that you can use. Derivatives of said T-share are probably a cheaper version of that, but they don't have the OG ability to get derivatives of itself. I think that is an important thing to understand. Right now, you can use Hedron to buy HSIs. Those HSIs not just are 555s, but they actually have time served already. So that's baked into the ecosystem that it's not just buying the hex yourself and then immediately staking it. The utility is that already has time served. We're going to see 1 year, 3 years, 5 years as we close that gap between old 555 stakes on how that time is actually of value. If you're looking at gaming tokens, I think all of it's silly what they're doing. But if you listen to DCC, Alluvium's interesting. But all of that, from my point of view, is silly game shit. That's my day job. So I am kind of hypercritical on what they're doing because I know the people there. Like, if you could actually take my LinkedIn and compare it to the people at those studios, it's 1 or 2 degrees of separation. If not, it's a bad thing. And I'm not talking about the bosses. I'm talking about the people working there, because all of game dev is 2 degrees of bacon. It really is 2 degrees of bacon. And so if you don't know someone within a particular ecosystem and you've been in game dev for 10 plus years, it's something weird over there, because everybody knows each other. It's even smaller than the Hexican community. It's nuts. But the value, regardless of anything, is just fucking keep DCing in. Now, you do have to bite the bullet. If you're only doing $60, your entrance fee may suck. But here's the thing. The knowledge that if you do that and you keep watching the videos, you pay attention all the time, when you do have a tax return, you do have a stimulus check, you do have some kind of value of money that you can immediately move in something, you're not questioning everything. You already know the directions on how to do it. You're already greenlit on the experience. You're already battle hardened on what you need to do. That is the most important thing. And I think that's the beauty of the Hexican community, is we have the Richard Hart ideals in mind on what people are now trying to carve out their own interest metrics on how things are trying to be built, created, used, and utilized. And I think that is probably the most paramount thing that you need to invest in, is your time. Not technically your money for $200 or $400, is your time. But ideally, T-shares are always going to be the GOAT. And so you want that any way you can get it. But that would be my advice.
Yeah, I love that answer there. Last little thing that I just, want to ask you, and this is kind of selfish just because, like I told you, my son, huge Roblox gamer for many, many years, like basically since the boy could open his eyes.
Yeah.
And so then when we got involved in crypto, I started introducing him to some crypto games. The only one that he found even a minimal interest in was Axie Infinity. Still, he's not like, it's not something he just loves like Roblox, but at least it got his attention a little bit. What is your take on that gaming platform?
I have not used any of that shit. To be fair, I would never spend my crypto to play a goddamn game that I do for work. I already work 80 hours a week. You ain't taking my goddamn money, because I already work way too much for money that I don't get paid the time to do it. So to be fair, I have never played any of that shit. But I can tell you exactly how it works, because I know exactly how it's made. Games are a nightmare. They are the hardest thing in the world, and I could give you stories that would blow your mind. But at the end of the day, like when I got to play God of War and the title credits came up and there's like 7 of my friends on there, I'm not gonna tell you, I was in tears, because my people made that. We suffered for that. It is our rite of passage, and it makes what we do beautiful. Is when you get to see someone make something that's such a fantastic experience onto something. It really is the most important part of making games. I think we aren't at the place where crypto gaming itself is anything less than just casinos. Now, is casinos bad? Not necessarily, but it's not giving you the utility to do something better. We
Right.
will see with AR more of an interactive, humanistic part of gaming coming forward, which gets you out and about. Look at Pokemon Go. Everyone was running around, almost getting hit by cars, trying to catch that goddamn little Snorlax that's running across the interstate, and fucking Karen being running, chasing it with a goddamn phone. But that's accurate. That is what we will see. So the gaming inherently of itself, remember, gaming itself is just an interactable story where I am the director.
Mm-hmm.
It's crafted for me. My lane is ish. Now I get to turn my head. And so I think that's really the core component that we're going to see more is that gaming component being now turned on its head for education, gaming component to be turned on its head for social interaction, that gaming component be on its head for, oh God, the leaf blowers are now running. It's war zone up in my place. But that is what we're going to see with all of that. So again, I do not play games for the most part because I make games across the board. But I can tell you that where the experiences are going to come is from the humanistic element, because that's what games are at its core component, is your ability to be a human and digest a story that you may have not opened the pages and read any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm super interested to see where the next 5 years takes us, what kind of new games are going to enter the system. I know that there are things being developed already for post chain, so I'm interested to see will any of those, really capture an audience and really do something to promote post chain. But it's all speculation at this point.
Well, so which ones are they? I haven't pay attention to anyone's actually building a game on Pulse Chain. I know stuff.
Post Games is actually the one that comes to mind. They've done some small Telegram games, but they have some other games.
Telegram games. Hold on.
Those games are just for to get an audience, right? Just to kind of spread the message that they develop games. Like they have like a Richard Hart Tort game, and they have like a version of Candy Crush that has all the post chain logos and different things like that. But their blockchain games, once post chain launches, it's supposed to be more so like one of them is like basketball, like kind of like fantasy football or basketball, where you get like packs of game cards. They have a lot of different games that are in development. But I'm interested to see, will any of them actually, make a splash on post chain? Is this something that people want? Is this something that I should be spending my time looking into and exposing my son to?
Oh, I know Nerd Girl's working on something like that too, and it's a little McFly thing. But it's, they remind me, what I see is they remind me of just simple like duck hunt type things. As things become more complex, the utility of the use case will come forward. Just like payphones, where the copper is still on. Payphones still exist. It's just there's no receiver, but the copper is still on. The utility is the layer zero. We will see it get more complex, and especially because the children will make it more complex. Notch sold Minecraft, which is the silliest goddamn block shit in the world, considering I deal with complex pixels. Minecraft was the joke of jokes. Still made $1 billion. And that was way, way, way back when. And now every child uses it because it's the simplest way for them to play with their blocks, just like they would in toys.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally their toy-based system that they can use digitally, just like they would be Bob the Builder running around with their construction equipment.
Mm-hmm.
It will come and it will happen, and it will be the youth that push that knowledge forward, and that will make a binding effect or a network effect for all other youths going forward to keep building, learning, churning, and creating.
Yeah. Look, so this was very informative for me. I think I got a much deeper understanding as far as where the future can go with NFTs. Like you said, we are still very, very early in this space. So I'm not willing to discount anything or dismiss anything.
You should never dismiss anything.
Right. I'm trying to keep my eyes open. You know, a lot of times I know, especially in our Hex community, you hear Richard Hart say one thing and then you're like, oh, well, I don't need to pay attention to that. But even him, his ideologies are constantly changing and evolving and meeting, coming to the space that we're in.
Sure. Well, even look at, like I said it way back when Richard Hart was playing StarCraft with finance. And that is what he was doing. And he is a fantastic marketing guy. And we can see the pivot in his change, both on the terminology of staking, both in the terminology and how old Richard's back, both in the terminology and all the rest of that. And he is playing a game when he went for evocative outrage marketing compared to his old self when he had long hair and wore a top hat, and people theoretically would call him an emo or a vampire or all the rest of that type of shit sitting on his throne. His change in personality on how he is evoking emotions, inspiring people, is a game. The art of play, from puppies to primates, is the ability to understand strategy and utilize strategy, which is knowledge and utility within an ecosystem that defines how your experience is and how you experience others, how you influence yourself and how you influence those around you. Those are games. Just like every day when you wake up, you are playing a game. The question is, how much do you want to play and do you care? Do you grind and not evolve, or do you evolve and keep pushing that forward as you would power leveling something? It is all the perspective on how you use the tools and the ability of value that you can contribute with those tools.
Yeah. Let that soak in.
Whatever. I'm just a simple game dev guy.
Simple. That is not the word that I would use to describe by any means.
Well, it doesn't matter. You press the dare button, and so now you have to swing dance on the cruise. So do you want to talk about what KSB TV has got going on?
Yeah, anybody that's joined us here before know that every day at this time I shill hexcruise.com. No, it's great. I love the meetups. I love being such a part of the planning of the events. I think I'm looking forward to this event more than any of the events before, just because of the fact that we're gonna be all stuck together. Like Larry is saying, like, I'm probably gonna get stuck doing some kind of dancing that I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah, there's no probably. Like,
where am I gonna go?
You made a deal with the devil. A fiddle.
we go to Vegas. You're in this hotel. I'm in this hotel. I can probably escape on this boat. We're all in it together. We're also going to be doing the Hexi Awards on the boat, so it's going to be a great time. We're up to, let me see, what was the last count? 107 people on this cruise with us.
That's wild.
So we got a good group, and there's still time. So if you think you want to come and hang out with us, April 24th through the 28th, we leave out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, going to the Bahamas. So
we already sold out what the original package set of everyone was, right? And then from there, you had to go actually keep adding on to your trip realtor to actually move everything forward, because I think Mark Russell came in late. There's a lot of people that I think are still coming in, and it's wild because technically all of those people on the cruise have to deal with us, which is actually brilliant. I told that to Patrick X Lion that it's actually brilliant because you put a network effect in a closed box. That those people have to see us partying, having fun, being eloquent and intelligent.
Yep.
Speaking on things that's normally crazy, weird, funny money stuff, but at a hyper level with the blue collar aspect of where we came from. And I think that's the fundamental thing that makes Hexicans interesting, is that our stories before we got into Hex are the stories that really make us human versus our knowledge of this weird, funny money protocol stuff.
100%. I'm way more committed to this space, to Hex, to the community, because of meeting all of you guys in person and spending that time and getting to know your individual stories, and that making me feel like I'm not in this alone, that I have other people that, are also validating my beliefs as far as where I think, Hex is going to go to in the future. Another reason why I wanted to talk to you, and I'm not going to explain exactly what it is. Maybe in the green room, we can get into a little bit more details. But KSB is going to be introducing our first real NFT project. And the reason that we're doing this is because it's tied to a physical product. The physical product is the part that I don't want to expose what it is yet. But in my mind, because it's a limited run of this physical product, the NFT essentially stands as like a certificate of authenticity. This is how you know that you have one of this very limited number of what it is we're doing. And by purchasing this NFT, then you get to receive this physical product. Inspired a lot by what Hex Toys has done with his watches and with the different Hex toys he has. And then also Trevon. He did a limited run of his More token rug. And it went well. It went extremely well. I was really surprised.
Trump made fucking NFTs and they didn't even do it. They bought stock photography and photoshopped his head on it.
What's that?
Trump's NFTs. They bought stock photography. I shit you not.
Yeah.
And photoshopped his head on top of stock photography. It's disgustingly stupid. But tying to real world assets is good. And here's the one thing I'll tell everyone here. Anything that KSB TV does, I will be helping them on not just the front end, because I don't need to be anywhere unless a friend calls me. Because they have my phone number like an adult. But like on the back end, I help a lot of people on a lot of things. And it's not about the sticker price, the forefront utility, but what may happen in 3 years, what may happen in 5 years, what happens in the future when we get more momentum, not just as sticker price, but technology-based utility that we can use. What happens when your kid that's used Rosebox for 10 years graduates and now has all the pieces to the puzzle for what he thinks, needs, and uses?
Yep. Exactly. So I'm looking forward to what's in store for the next few months. I mean, even after the cruise, we're going to be doing our first European meetup, likely in Germany. I can't expose the exact location yet. We're still trying to get some details ironed out. But the future is bright in the Hex community. Like,
very bright.
We're here.
I know the captain's doing a tour of the United States, and it's like everyone else taking those pieces and moving it forward. I know exactly what I want to do here in the future once they let me away from the game industry fucking 80-hour weeks. But it's right. It's very, very bright future of people that are motivated to help others, which is exactly the momentum that you want.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, this was an awesome stream. I don't want to hold you. I know you have a full day. You're always super busy, like always.
10 a.m. to 5 a.m. every damn day. And I hate my life when I wake up and I was like, woke up at 10:30, listened to stand up, and I went to bed. And then you called at 11. I'm like, oh, fuck, I knew there was something I was doing today. I don't even know what day shit is. I just know what I deliver tomorrow.
It's a good thing that you have windows so that you can see the difference between day and night, because your hours are crazy, sir. Absolutely crazy.
80 hours a week is a good week, and I've been doing that for 20 years. So, yeah, it's nightmarish.
Come on, Dollar Hex.
Yeah, well, the thing is that when we'll move into this thing that's like, again, you and all the KSB TV people are doing, it's like you're still working. It's just not working for the man.
Right.
I have a very, very particular set of skills now that will be paramount into the future of what we all use, do, and experience. So I'll still be working, and I'll still probably be working around the clock, but I'll be working to help others instead of pay my corporate overlords.
Yeah, on your own agenda with your own mission in mind. That's the goal, right? So if you could just tell the people where they can find you.
Nope. I've never once shared how to find me. Nope. If you're an adult, you have my fucking cell phone. If not, it's really not hard to find me. Be an adult and figure shit out. But I have no need for any clout. I have no need for social media follows. I have no need for liking, subscribing, rags to riches for president. I'm fuck. But I'm behind the scenes on a lot of stuff, and because I build fake reality for a living, I don't need clout in fake reality or real virtual fake reality. No matter. But if you're my friend, you got my goddamn cell phone, which is why you poke me to be like, get the fuck up, bitch. You said you'd be on stream. Like, God, I look like death. All right, hold on. Let me go slap myself in the face. But if you want to find me, possibly go to KSB TV, and then they may actually have me on a stream because they all be my family. So that would be how you would find me, is KSB TV, Discourse Syndicate, or any of the real good people that are worth value. It's all about us as a whole. That is the most important thing.
Yeah. So then we don't know where to find them, but
I mean, being an adult, it's really not hard to find me. It's just I have no need for you finding me.
I tell you what, Koolaid doesn't keep it 100; he keeps it a thou wow.
I mean, you just wait till I start dancing, and you say, "There he goes," and then be like, "You're in trouble. You made me truth or dare, so now you're binded to your dare."
100%, we're having a dance off between you and
No,
Blue.
not dance off. I'm going to teach you how to swing dance.
Good luck with that, Larry.
Trust me, I'm batting 10,001 on that. Everybody swing dances with me, so you will learn. You will learn fast.
All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us in the chat. Thanks for being here. I'm here every day, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's all we got for you today. We'll see you next time.
Be good.